Today, I'm here to tell you about an analogy between a CPU and GPU. So, usually, you might have heard me yapping about CPU and GPU all of the time, telling how CUDA makes running the data much faster, how it makes the program very optimized and all. So, the simple analogy between a CPU and a GPU is that CPU you can consider it as an car, and GPU you can consider it as a bus. So, in case of car, you can travel as a group of 4 or 5, and it can move much faster, like very fast, much faster than a bus. And a bus, it can commute maybe 50 to 100 people, and it will be slightly slower than the car. So that is a simple analogy between a CPU and GPU. And going to the fact, CPU, when you want to use CPU, is that when the data is very low or the elements or the operations is really low. And as the number of data and the operations improve, you might want to use a GPU. So, for example, in this particular graph, you can see that a single threaded CPU is much faster than the GPU when the number of elements is like 512. And over the time, when the number of elements increase to 65,000, a multi-threaded CPU is much faster than a single-threaded CPU, but still GPU is very slower. But when the number of elements is way up in 2 million, the GPU comes to the picture. Even though the overhead of moving the data is slightly higher in the GPU, since you are moving a bulk amount of data, the overall performance of GPU will improve as the number of data or the number of operations that has to be done on a huge amount of data increases. And this is where GPU becomes much important in AI, where we deals with simple mathematical operations with a huge amount of data. So that's all for today. Bye.